A lot of Mexicans don't like him. A lot of Mexicans don't like him. I go to Mexico a lot. They don't.
A lot of Mexicans don't like him. I go to Mexico a lot, and they don't like him. They like us. Canelo Alvarez and Edgar Berlanga kicked off the week with a tense, fiery face-off that was short but packed with drama. Honestly, it didn't last long, just a brief, intense moment between the two as they began their media rounds. If you've been keeping up with their back-and-forth jabs, then you're not missing a beat. But surprisingly, this time Canelo was more reserved, unusually quiet. Could it be the calm before the storm? Meanwhile, Berlanga's energy seemed ready to explode, carrying on the trash talk from their previous exchanges. Looks like we're in for an electrifying showdown. As the teams of both fighters made their way down a buzzing hallway in Las Vegas, Edgar Berlanga couldn't resist stepping up to Canelo Alvarez for a little face-to-face action. Now let's be real, we all know that when it comes to size, Berlanga has the upper hand, and sure enough, it was clear when he strolled right up to Canelo. But surprisingly, this wasn't about picking a fight or starting chaos. Berlanga knew exactly what he was doing. This move wasn't out of bad intentions. It was pure showmanship, giving his fans something to gossip about and adding a bit of extra flair to the lead-up. After all, what's a fight without a bit of drama? Berlanga, who famously called himself the chosen one before stepping into the ring, now finds himself in the perfect spot to prove he's deserving of that title. With his boxing career heating up, it's the ideal moment to show the world and his growing fan base that he lives up to his name. Meanwhile, Canelo Alvarez, who started his career fighting lesser-known opponents in Mexico, has become a dominant force in boxing. Despite being closer to retirement than his prime, Canelo isn't showing any signs of giving up his crown. As these two prepare to face off, the anticipation is seriously building. "I'm from New York, so I was just inviting him to my spot," Berlanga said, adding with a smirk. "No freaky stuff, you know. But I felt disrespect, so I disrespected him back. It's shaping up to be a clash of every boxing element you can imagine, a true test of boxing IQ, power, strength, and technique. But beyond the technicalities, this showdown between Canelo Alvarez and Edgar Berlanga is about national pride. Mexico versus Puerto Rico. Things have already reached a fever pitch. Canelo confidently predicted something he hasn't promised in quite some time, a knockout within 8 rounds. Of course, Berlanga wasn't about to let that slide. He quickly reminded everyone that Canelo made a similar claim before his last fight, but ended up winning by decision instead of the knockout he promised. Not one to be outdone, Berlanga made his own bold prediction, vowing to beat Canelo within the first 6 rounds. This has Mexican fans buzzing, while Puerto Rican supporters are rallying behind their fighter, bringing a whole new level of intensity to this heated rivalry. With the big fight set for September 14th at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, Berlanga's camp is nothing but optimistic. His trainer, Mark Fay, shared his confidence in an interview, revealing that their strategy for taking down Canelo goes far beyond his recent bouts. They've been analyzing every fight Canelo has ever had, crafting a game plan that taps into his entire career. For Berlanga's team, the goal is simple: take Canelo down and prove that Edgar Berlanga truly is the future of boxing. Mark Fay didn't hold back when discussing their preparation for the upcoming bout against Canelo Alvarez. He made it clear that anyone focusing solely on Canelo's last few fights is making a rookie mistake. According to Fay, the key to success lies in understanding Canelo's entire career because, as he pointed out, you never truly know what version of Canelo will show up on fight night. Fay has been meticulously studying Canelo's work over the years, ensuring Berlanga is ready for any curveball the Mexican superstar might throw. Berlanga's camp is fully aware of Canelo's ability to adapt and switch tactics, but they've gone through every trick in the book to make sure their fighter is prepared. After all, Fay knows his fighter well. He's the one who turned Berlanga pro and has been guiding his journey ever since, despite a brief separation. As for Canelo's bold prediction of knocking Berlanga out within 8 rounds, Faye and Berlanga are far from convinced. They've heard similar claims before, and Canelo hasn't exactly delivered on them in recent bouts. Canelo Alvarez made his grand entrance at Las Vegas's T-Mobile Arena for the Cinco de Mayo weekend showdown. His opponent, 27-year-old Jaime Munguia, stepped into the biggest and toughest fight of his career. But despite the significant challenge, the focus of the boxing world seemed to be elsewhere. Many had dismissed Munguia, eyeing David Benavidez as the more exciting challenger. Still, Munguia, unbeaten and improving with each fight, was ready to face the veteran and potentially dethrone the Mexican boxing king. Canelo acknowledged the talks around his recent performances, 4 fights without a knockout, and the whispers that he might be past his prime. But he wasn't fazed. Speaking to the press after arriving at the MGM Grand, Alvarez made it clear he had no plans of letting this fight go the distance. He was coming for a knockout, and he intended to do it before the 8th round. His eyes were on the prize, all 4 belts, and making history as the first time 2 Mexicans fought for such an honor. Despite all the bravado, Canelo's past performances hung like a shadow. He had promised knockouts before against Jermall Charlo last year, and again with Gennady Golovkin, but failed to deliver. The pressure was on, and Canelo seemed well aware of it. He knew his fans wanted more than just a victory, they craved a statement. The knock on Edgar Berlanga is that his explosive run of 16 first-round knockouts came to an abrupt end once he stepped up his competition. Still, with his current mandatory status for Canelo Alvarez's title and being ranked number 1 with the WBA, there's no turning back now. The buzz is louder than ever. Eddie Hearn, his promoter, has been fueling the hype, reminding everyone that Berlanga's next move is inevitable. According to Hearn, it's not a matter of if, but when Berlanga faces Canelo. Hearn insists that if the call to fight Canelo came now, Berlanga wouldn't hesitate. He's not the type to back down or worse, try to play it safe for 12 rounds. He's ready to make it a fight. While Berlanga may have called out Canelo, many expect him to take on another opponent before facing the Mexican champion. But Hearn promises that when the fight happens, Berlanga will give Canelo a serious run for his money, and it won't be the walk in the park some might assume. Canelo, on the other hand, isn't one to shy away from a challenge. Known for taking on all comers, Alvarez doesn't duck anyone. But the real question on everyone's mind is whether Berlanga can actually beat Canelo. Hearn might have his doubts, but in boxing, anything is possible. Canelo's track record speaks for itself with 61 wins and 39 knockouts, including decision victories over fighters like Gennady Golovkin and Callum Smith. Still, Canelo is no stranger to big punchers, and Berlanga, despite being younger and less experienced, will certainly bring the heat when the bell rings. Mark your calendars for Saturday, September 14th. The T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada, will play host to the latest chapter in the Mexico vs. Puerto Rico boxing rivalry. Canelo Alvarez will defend his super middleweight title for the 8th time, holding the WBC, WBA, WBO, and the ring belts. Meanwhile, Edgar Berlanga